presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's another Monday morning on Dialogue in Diaspora. Coming to you live from Ben Television. My name is Tunde Alabi. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the program today. This morning, we will be taking a look at the attack on Westminster Bridge that happened on the 22nd of March. That was last Wednesday. At about 12:04 and 12:32, where 4 people died in that very horrible incident, including PC Kit Palmer, who was stabbed at the gate of Westminster Palace. It's such a very horrible incident. And of course, Khalid Masood used his SUV to commit that terror. Britain has remained in some kind of pensive sober mood since then. However, in a show of deviance and solidarity, London has said it will not be cowed by any form of terrorism, and the city has been opened to tourists, businesses, and people. Few minutes after that very incident. Joining me on the show today to review stopping the threat of radicalization in the UK, in our community, are 2 British high-profile personality who have made impact in our community and are still making impact in our community. My 2 guests on the show today are politicians. Kate Anolue, he's a councillor and also a former mayor at Enfield Borough in London. Okay, thank you for joining us on the program today. And also we have Ashburn Older, a British parliamentary candidate in the last parliamentary election. Ashburn, thank you for joining us on the program today. And quickly, before I set out the ball rolling, let's join our viewers to which their guest Kate Anolue a very happy birthday. Yesterday was her birthday. As we celebrate the Mother's Day, she was also celebrating our birthday with our children and grandchildren. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
Taking your time out to join us despite a very busy and tight schedule you had, plus including your birthday celebration yesterday. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
And happy birthday again.
Thank you so much.
Ashburn, thank you for taking your time to join us. We know it's a busy time for you, but you also took your time out. It's a pleasure having you join us on the show. Let me start with you, Ashburn. You have always been a campaigner of the justice system, especially in the black community. You have always believed that the justice system, to some extent, has not, the criminal justice system to some extent has not been very fair to the black community. One will imagine that Khalid Masood, who out of a terror mind used his hired SUV to mow down 4 people. He was a one-time prisoner. He was in prison, and the police are still trying to put information together. Probably he was radicalized while in prison. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, can I just say 2 things before we start? Can I say happy birthday and happy Mother's Day?
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
The other thing I'd like to say, my condolences go to the police officer that died, and also to the people that got hurt. It was a tragedy, and I condemn any form of violence when it comes to that nature. In my opinion, sort of the media decide to call it terrorist. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, that wasn't terrorist. I think it was sort of some form of guy that went sort of berserk, and he really went something stupid and create this sort of crime. So when it comes to terrorists, I think we use the wrong terminology for a start. As soon as the terrorists come into the media, And as you know, the media is there to actually to raise people's profile. So it creates sort of divisions between us. And at the minute, we got enough divisions. We got enough problems with Brexit, and we got enough problems. So when the media comes up and say it's terrorists, straight away it's sort of Islam, it's sort of religion, it's politics, and we get the brunt of it. So this chap, as far as I'm concerned, it's an investigation still going on. We're not sure what happened, and I honestly don't know what's happened. But I don't think it's terrorism. I think it was a crime. He created a crime. So therefore, on the crime, it needs to be investigated until the police come out with some analysis of what took place. I'm really just as dark as everybody. But according to the media, it's terrorist. But I disagree with that.
I mean, the question still put to you again is whether as a terrorist or as a criminal, he was a one-time, well, an ex-convict in prison. And the police still trying to put the piece together. Probably he was radicalized in prison. The prison, he's meant to be a place where people are reformed, but he seems to have gone there and come out more terribly.
Well, we're not sure about this because there's an investigation going on. When he said he became radicalized in prison, we don't know.
We don't know, yeah,
that's assumption that this has happened. My understanding for what I know in the media is that he was under surveillance. So the police has been surveilling this chap for I don't know how long, a period of time. So therefore, the police is aware of what he's doing, but yet he was managed to do the act that he did, and with no sort of any form of intervention. And the thing that gives me concern, if he's radicalized in prison, the prison system is letting us down. As you know, the whole prison system is in a sham. The prison system doesn't work. In fact, the criminal justice doesn't work. The whole criminal justice needs to be reformed. And what's happening is our children, predominantly the black community, is suffering. We are sort of 3 times more likely to be sent to prison than a white counterpart that create the exact same crime. And on top of that, our children are getting the highest sentence than what the white community is getting. So the system needs to be addressed. And I think Nick Clegg spoke about this, and I think even sort of Theresa May mentioned that. When she first came into government, she said the black community is getting a raw deal. So we're all aware of that, but yet nothing has been done. So the 2 major parties that's really got an input that can actually do something is not doing nothing about it. I haven't heard Labour said anything about it that actually addressed the situation that our people face. And it's always our people. Brexit, we face the worst. Like everything else, we are at the bottom. So the criminal justice really needs a total review. We've got some really charming bad solicitors that represent our children. And solicitors has got a major part. And the mere fact that the police tend to sort of pick on our children. In fact, our children like cherry picking because the police knows that black parents hasn't got the finance to get them the best solicitors, the best lawyers to represent them. So therefore, our children are cherry picked to promote police officers to get to the top or box ticking. But coming back to the question, has it been radicalized? Honestly, don't know. But it's in prisons, anything may happen. But I honestly don't know, and I can't really sort of say that. But as far as I'm concerned, he's created crime, and the crime he's created is in Parliament, which is, indeed, that's quite serious, to pick Parliament to do that. That's one of the places you shouldn't be even thinking of doing, and that is wrong. And for us to sort of classify him as terrorist is wrong. We don't know yet. We don't know until the police come with the actual investigation. So before we use that word terrorism...
But the police itself did say it was a terror heart.
Well, the police themselves is not too sure about its terror. I mean, the word terror, when you look at terror is to put fear into people. There wasn't a fear. I mean, lots of things happen in London. People use knives, people use cars and create all sorts of crime. Is that terror? That's a crime. So I still think, in my personal opinion, it's not terror, it's a crime. But coming back to the question, back to prison, I can't tell you for sure, has it been radicalized? That's down to the police to investigate.
Okay, and looking back at the incident, bearing in mind that this is another act that has resulted in the death of 4 people when a policeman who was in active service protecting one of the most iconic institutions in the world, the Parliament. And as a mayor, as a former mayor, what thoughts did you have at the time you heard this story?
Thank you very much. First of all, I just have to say, send my sincere sympathy and condolences to PC Palmer and the family and the other family also that lost their loved ones. And there are still many people that are not, are still in the hospital. And those who have now gone home with a terrible scare in their mind. They're scared for life in their mind because it's a terrible thing to happen. Amazingly, I was in the city that day, but not very close to, I was kind of around Oxford Circus. And when I heard this, I just thought to myself, what is happening in this world? Why can't people just leave their home and come out and have a good time? Either they're shopping or they've been. Just think about one of the gentlemen that died. He went to the hospital and, for eye test, and to come out of the hospital just for a simple thing and to be blown, I think it's very devastating. I don't know. I think it's very much the wrong thing to do. I feel, and I also agree that it's not terror, a terrorist act. However, there are some people that have been already arrested, but we don't know why. Because sometimes it might be a black sheep who has decided, I'll do the act. But we don't know. Well, considering that he's been, under surveillance for a very long time. I mean, to be age 52 at that age and to come out and do this kind of, terrible act, it makes you wonder, is he carved out to be a criminal all his life? Which obviously it has appeared to, because now he's gone. And to take innocent lives with him, is a thing that we still have to believe why he done it. Unfortunately, we can't get an answer because he's gone. So it's very difficult for us to say it's a terror act, and at the same time to say it's not. Like Ashman just said, the police are still investigating, and until we get some confirmation or something from them, then it's very difficult to say it's a terrorist act. But because obviously what is happening in the world most recently, the easiest thing to say is a terrorist act, but without confirmation.
I mean, as a politician, a mother and a woman, what do you think would have pushed anybody into waking up one day and saying the next thing I want to do is to mow down using a hired vehicle? Obviously, that seems to be a premeditated crime. He's thought about it, decided hired a vehicle, decided to use it. What do you think could have motivated anybody to do that?
Very difficult to answer. But sometimes I sit back to think, has he got a mental problem? But if you have a mental problem, there are certain things that you will not do, and there are certain things that you would do. But I just believe, yes, he prepared to do that. He's very well meditated. But was he working on his own? Or has he got any other associates? It's an answer that we cannot, we cannot get. It's the question we cannot get an answer. But as a mother, oh God, I just feel, think about those couple that just came to celebrate their wedding anniversary, and for one to go back home, the pain, the pain, the pain. And you begin to ask yourself question, should you have stayed where you are? Why? This is why I believe that either an individual or groups cannot stop people from celebrating, from coming out to our great city, London, to walk around and enjoy themselves. And as he says, whatever has been planned for anybody, it will happen wherever you are. So nobody knows. We just have to say, yes, it's something that has meant to happen. But to happen in such a gruesome way is unforgivable. You know, so it's very difficult, but I know that the pain, I can feel their pain. I can feel their pain as a mother, I can feel their pain. And the police are working extremely hard, you know, to make sure that we are safe. PC Palmer was there to make sure that we are safe, make sure that the politicians, you know, that people that are coming and going out of the House of Parliament are safe. And yet, you know, he paid with his life. And could he have said, because of those fears, he wouldn't have that job? No, he can't, because otherwise others that are still there will all resign and say, oh, this work is just terrible, I can't do it. Somebody has to do it.
Ashburn, Khalid Masood was a 52-year-old man with 2 or 3 children. What would have inspired a man of that age to such a criminal act? You've got your own children, probably had a wife, and the next thing you think about is to kill other people's children, wife, and husband. What would have inspired? What would have, I mean, what would have happened to him?
Well, we can just assume, and it's all assumption, for any person or anybody to create an act like this, it must be sort of, it must be something tremendously wrong with them. As, Kate said, we in this country have got a lot of mental issues, and mental issues seems to lie predominantly in our black community, and help is not available to address the problem that we face. But saying that, for this gentleman to create the act he did, it must have taken him, as a father and as a person, he may have gone through a tremendous trauma. He maybe have sort of reached the end of his life. He maybe think, that's it, there's no more. He's been in prison, he's been sort of on the surveillance by the police. He may think that he's sort of been picked on, he's been, it could be anything for any father or any person to do that. So he must have reached the peak where nothing was left, and he's driven to create such an act. And it is sad. It's sad for anybody to create such an act. It's devastating because it affects not only his family, it affects every single one that's involved. So his children, his wife, his parents, his family, they're all infected, and
Friends,
they all feel the pain.
neighbors.
Absolutely. Everybody's infected, all of us. Whoever creates the crime, all of us pays the price for it. So when we look at sort of criminal crimes by this sort of terrible sort of, it's just unspeakable. But I do feel possibly this gentleman had an issue, and I think he probably reached the last of the line. And for him to take such a tragedy, it gives me concern. And what gives me concern is this: this man had a knife, and I put a question mark on this. This man had a knife, according to the police, holding it towards a second police, and yet he was shot dead. I'm just putting a question mark on why wasn't he not wounded? They had the opportunity to wound this gentleman, to find out exactly, by wounding this gentleman, we could have found out exactly what took place. We could have found exactly what was in his mind, and we can find if it was terrorism, and if there was other people involved, we could have get all this information along the chain to find out who's the top is leading this gentleman to do what he did. But he's dead now, so dead man can't talk. That's just a hypothetical sort of way of looking at things. But to be driven to create such a crime, you know, I can just imagine he reached the last stage and there was nothing left to create such a crime. But who knows? We can't read into his mind, we don't know. But it is sad, and it is sad all around for such a thing to happen. And it is sad for him as well. You know, for him to take his life this way. He probably asking for help. We don't know. He probably saying, you know, I need help, but we honestly don't know. It is sad, and it is sad for all of us because it reflects on all of us.
Okay, earlier on, Ashburn did give some kind of very devastating analysis of the treatment of the black community in comparison with how the criminal justice system deals with the black community and other communities in the United Kingdom. Would you agree?
Oh yes, I definitely do agree because like when you go to prison, the number of people that are in the prison, when you look at the ratio, is like 1 to 5, that is 1 Caucasian to 5, coming from ethnic community, especially the black youths. And it doesn't help us, the parents, as well, because we feel, that majority of them have gone through mental health. And the reason why, it's gone worse is because the mental health is not even addressed. National health is running short of money, and the areas that are being, kind of strapped, is the mental health. And I feel sometimes, is it because it's just almost like one ethnic group that is there? So they're not getting the help, and if you've got a mental case and you're not getting the help, your medication and so forth, you are going to be worse, and you're going to lean yourself towards someone that think that they're helping you, while they're actually grooming you for a different issue, probably going into being a terrorist, or probably into drugs and gangs. So these things are not treated, because when I look at it, it's things like it's getting worse. I remember when I came to this country, and where I'm able to walk along the road, without looking back or anything. But now, when you see a group of young people together, you start to panic. Why should you panic? You're seeing, especially you're seeing people looking like you, and it's because of they're all been stigmatized, they're all been labeled and so forth. So they're not really getting the help that they needed. And unfortunately, our young people now seem to have this aggression within themselves, because it's like, where do I, where can I exercise, the aggression? And then you go with the hands. That is, when you hear about a young person, a young lad being either gunned down or knifed down, you look at it, it's another black youth, killing, his mates, So, and it's all this that has made things, for me, I feel that there's a raw deal, and that is not being, addressed. When you come to unemployment, again, unemployment is the young people as well, the young people from ethnic minority, especially the blacks. And when you come to school as well, they are the ones that been, are not getting the raw deal. When you talk about, those that have been either, in detention or even expelled from school, it's again the same young people from ethnic minority, especially the black youths. So I feel that they still haven't got, they're not getting a raw deal, and the young people know it, and that's why they've got this aggression in them. That they're not seen as part of the community, and yet when you look back, it's their parents, the parents, or that brought up, that actually build up UK as it is, and yet seems to be getting there.
So talking about parents, I'll come back to the issue of parents. Luckily, we had Mother's Day celebrated yesterday, but I'll come back to that. Let me quickly take Mr. Vincent. Thank you so much, Vincent, for joining us on the program, and thank you for staying on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, my concern really, I'm lucky we have the member of the House there discussing with you. The concern is about the security in Scotland yet. We can completely compare what happened in this incident and that happened at over Chief Station. How fast this police was able to go in there and shoot somebody, an innocent chap. And then you compare what happened to these Westminster Bridge. The man had driven over 40 speed limit in London, mowed down people, and yet opened that car door and ran off, brandishing a knife, and no security person is around there to stop him by maiming him, either shooting him down somehow to wound him, stop him carrying on. And he gets to the traffic light, turned left into the compound and met a soldier, 10 soldiers, What about the karate and all these defensive things they were taught to use? To put off somebody and arrest with a knife, not with a gun. So I'm just thinking about what the meeting they will be having with Scotland Yard, how to prevent further incidents. Because you put this man's life, and as your next speaker there said, how do you pick up the information you need? Everybody is denying having anything to do with it. So the policy, as we are taught in security, stop the man by disarming him, either by maiming him, not kill him, especially if he's a single person. And then you can elicit what you want from him. Now what you have done, you've just blown up everything. Nobody will account for anything. He's there on a loner, lying down there. Everybody's talking, speaking from two sides of their mouth. So that's my own concern. The security what they did there was not commendable at all. That's what the much I want to contribute.
All right, Mr. Vincent, thanks a lot for joining us on the program.
All right. I hope they learn a lesson.
Absolutely. But still, at the same time, we should commend the British police for quickly bringing that act to an end. I mean, it was fast. It was a fast-paced act, but the rate at which the police acted, I mean, has been commendable.
You got to give them the credit. I mean, they did a good job, to be fair. I mean, to police any city is extremely difficult. No matter how hard we try, no matter what guns we put on the road, no matter how much security we have, it's extremely difficult to make any city security and protect everybody. Can you imagine on Westminster Bridge, the amount of people we've got on Westminster Bridge, and for to say the police has not adequately do a good job, it's not fair. I mean, even though this guy had a gun or a knife, by the time the police, reactive police, addressed the situation, lots of life would have been taken. But saying that, it's sad, but to be realistic about it, it happened. But for the response, for how quick they dismantled this gentleman, as I said, it's sad that they killed him, but unfortunately there could have been better ways of doing it. But however, if that's what it took to do it, then it was pretty quick. And I think that you've got to be fair with them, to give them, that they did a reasonably good job. But security-wise, it's extremely difficult.
Extremely
and nobody can know where anybody strike. You can strike anywhere, and it's difficult to say that the security is not there. It's just not right. It's not fair.
All right, fantastic. Let's go on a very short break now. We're going on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Temitope Olodo, our counter-terrorism advisor, to look at this issue further. I still have my guest in the studio. Keita Nolwe is still in the studio. Ashburn Wilder is also still in the studio. You also have the opportunity to also call in into the studio to join us in this discussion. Don't go away. We'll be back soon. Our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon.
Something new on Politics with KO. This time around, there's going to be live reports from Nigeria. We'll be going through the geopolitical zones. We'll have correspondents that will be telling you what is happening. A review of monthly events. Since it's once a month, it's going to be your summary. Nigerians in diaspora would not need to go to Nigeria to find out what is happening. We'll be getting live reports. We'll have interviews, and we would also have live phone calls so that it's a conversation between us and yourself. It's an open parliament, free speech, no holds barred. Politics with KO is back.
For any professional live streaming production of any event in the UK, Ben TV Livestream are here to serve and provide you with the global coverage you need anywhere at real time. We are offering a deal to accommodate the local events. Just send us an email for more information at livestream@bentelevision.com or call us on 020-8808-8800. Ben TV, Sky 182, bridging the gap.
Tune in To Talk Time,
Mondays at 9 p.m.
the social, political and cultural news show
that puts your issues first.
Don't miss out. It's time to own your own properties at any of these cities: Abeokuta, Isheri, Opek, Abuja, Sam Nujoma and Orozo, Lagos, Lekki, Port Harcourt, TAF Gardens. Keyrite with major developers and state agencies can make your dream come true. Property and flats start from just £25,000. We can also provide you with property exchange. For more information, please visit www.keyrite.co.uk.
For any professional live streaming production of any event in the UK, Ben TV Livestream are here to serve and provide you with the global coverage you need anywhere at real time. We are offering a deal to accommodate the local events. Just send us an email for more information at livestream@bentelevision.com or call us on 020-8808-8800. Ben TV, Sky 182, bridging the gap.
As part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review. All right, thank you for joining us on the program one more time. This morning, I'm now joined by Tim Tokwe Olodo. Tim Tokwe Olodo is a counter-terrorism advisor. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Kate Anode, who had a birthday celebrated yesterday, Mother's Day, is still on the show. Kate, thank you for joining us on the program. And also, we've got Ashburn Older, British parliamentary candidate in the last parliamentary election, also still in the studio. Ashburn, thank you for joining us on the program today. And Tokwe, before you came in, we were talking about what Khalid Moshood did on the bridge of Westminster with a hired SUV. Total now killing 4 people, including a brave PC, Kate Palmer, who was in the service trying to protect one of the iconic institutions in the UK, the British Parliament, and was brutally stabbed multiple times to death. Before you came, we've had this issue of whether it was an act of terror or it was just some kind of one man going berserk committing criminal act. What do you think?
From my perspective, from my understanding, from my working in that field, I definitely say it's an act of terrorism. Terrorism means terror. It's not terror just in a small scale, but terror that affects everyone. Of course, a madman could pick up a machete and go around creating terror also. But we should try and distinguish between a madman carrying a knife and attacking somebody with someone that has been radicalized and had actually intended to cause harm. You know, and you have a well-known terrorist organization, you know, taking responsibility for the action of this man. And I've said on many occasions and here also that we have a situation where the new wave of terrorism is coming from within the ethnic minority, which is the second and third generation, who definitely will have a bit of low-level crime. And they are vulnerable individuals that could easily be attracted, you know, to the twisted ideology of going out there to carry out this kind of act. So as far as I'm concerned, it is terrorism because it went out with an intention of causing harm and creating, you know, creating as much, damage as it could on that around Westminster area.
How do we differentiate terrorism from criminal act?
Okay. A criminal has, although they might be a bit similar, a criminal has an intention of doing something that is against the law, but with an intention of achieving something out of it. So it's committing a crime, whether you steal petrol from the petrol station, or you go into a shop, or you attack somebody. You've done it because there is the actor's errors and the mens rea, and those two come together to become a crime.
Somebody who is paid to kill. I mean, we've had people shot dead in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Young adults just around us
Yeah.
shot dead. If the shooter were to have been caught, what would we have called that?
That shooter was going after a particular individual. He's going after a particular individual. It created terror for people that saw that incident around as of that time. But his intention is not to go out and shoot 10, 15 people. And even if he kills 10, 15 people in a gang-related situation, it is a crime. It is a crime, but it is a gang tough war. It is a gang-related crime. But this situation is completely different. This is an individual that has converted and follows a particular set of religion, maybe with a twisted ideology, and it decided to go out to carry out an act which we know time and time again some individuals are carrying out in the name of wanting to create an Islamic state, or believing that that Britain and some other countries are anti-Islamic, and because of that they want to create an Islamic caliphate. We need to call it what it is, and what it is this guy is an Islamist terrorist, or radicalized Islamic terrorist that have gone out to kill people. And it doesn't matter, because even if there are Muslims there, it will kill them also. So it's not like he's for us. It's not like he's with the majority Muslim that are law-abiding. The fact is that this guy had a twisted ideology and is going out there and he will kill, and there are many of them still around and still wanting to kill. And we know that our security services are actually looking into active 3,000 individuals. Now, those individuals, you can't wish them away. You can't say they're not doing it in the name of the religion that they're doing it. We just need to find a way and come up with a way of trying to remove them away from what they are doing.
Ashmore.
I'm sorry. As much as I was trying to comprehend what you're saying, I disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Look, you don't know that for a fact that he's any form of terrorism, or he's been radicalized. The police never know that yet. They do an investigation. So for you to come with a statement like this, you're creating fear within the community. You see, that's why we sort of use this word terrorism.
Okay.
Terrorism tends to bring, as you rightly said, Islam. It's start bringing hate between our community.
Okay.
So we need to be very careful when we say this word terrorism, because at the end of the day, the analysis, it lies on us, because it's bring division straight away. It brings religion into the picture. It brings ethnic minority problems in it. So you cannot use this word terrorism. This was a crime. A crime was created. You mean, we got lots of things happening at this minute, which is a crime. Be careful how you use this word terrorism, because terror then reflects back on us community, the ethnic minority, and we get the brunt in it. We bring religion, we bring the Asians, we bring this, and the whole thing gets disproportional. So I cannot accept that. Back to the point where you said that this guy was sort of he was premeditated. He was embrace into Islamic. You don't know that because the police is still investigating that. So for you to come here and say that is this sort of, you're creating a deception that is not true. So we got to be careful how you say that, because we've got enough issues as the BME community in this country. We don't want any more.
Let me start with Kate. Kate, 1 minute.
Yes,
Go
I
on.
think, because initially we have actually discussed this, whether it was terror or was crime. And I still go on to what we said earlier, because that is my own view, that I don't see it as terrorism yet. I would like the police to finish their investigation. I would like to know
But
the reason.
the police
They still-
themselves
they
have
still-
actually come out.
No.
They have made up.
The media said that. The media said that. The media said that. The media is there to make money. The only thing about this, I do apologize. The only thing about the media is there to make money. The first thing that came out, the media said terrorists, and everybody jumped on the bandwagon. That is wrong. We've got to be crystal clear about this. This is wrong.
It's
The
also,
police have made it clear that this
but,
was
you know,
an act of terrorism.
It's also easy to say that. Reason is because this has happened. This kind of thing has happened, you know, in some of the cities in Europe. But it was easy to find out because they quickly found out the organizations and so forth. But this one, we haven't found, you know, the organization. The police have arrested some people outside London as well. I think through questioning them, we soon find out their groups. Then we can then say, yes, he's a terrorist. It's quite easy for the media to say he's a terrorist act. Even myself, sitting in my house, I would say, oh my God, it's a terrorist act. And then, but I have nothing to confirm. You know, until that confirmation, you know, if we follow the media, then obviously we have to agree that everybody, you know, everybody's a terrorist. You know, but we cannot follow the media. Yeah, the media is there to sell their papers. Absolutely. But at the same time, we have to get, there's nothing as good as a fact. Evidence is the fact. If you don't have evidence, you don't have a fact. So we need that fact. And that fact, yes, he wasn't born a Muslim. He became a Muslim, but he didn't become a Muslim because he wants to be, radicalized. It probably that's just because I've got friends who have actually their children have become Muslims and they're not radicalized. They are, you know, practicing what the Quran says. You know, it's like in a family. In a family, you have children. Their children, all of them are not going to be fantastic. There is still one who's going to be against what the parents say. You know, it's not because they want to be an outcast. It's because probably they got their own mind. But I want to say, you know, this gentleman, he must have also, we have to look at his mental health background. His mental health background is very, very important because he's been in and out of prison. He's been, there's been a surveillance, you know, over him. You know, is it because they think he's, you know, he's a radicalized person, or is it because he's a criminal, a petty criminal, and then a big criminal? You know, there's so much to look through about his life, and to end up at age 52, I'm still going back to that age 52, to do this, there has to be something more than, you know, being a criminal. There has to be something probably, you know, he might have his group, but there's something you said which I agree. I just wish that because he hasn't got a gun, because with a gun he can shoot easily, but because he wasn't a gun, it was a knife, I just wish that they shot his two legs, you know, just to keep him alive, to question him. Because you see, this thing that we're arguing about now, or we're discussing about, we cannot get an answer.
Absolutely.
We cannot get an answer because he's shot dead already, he's dead. But if he was injured, even if it was severe injury that he goes through, you know, medical and then get better, I think we'll get an answer. No matter what, by the time they finish question, we get an answer. But we're not going to get an answer. So it has to be for us to be saying, yes, he's a terrorist. Yes, he's just a big-time criminal. You know, until we get finally from the police investigation. There's a lot of investigation going on about this police investigation, which is going to confirm, yes, actually, this gentleman is from a group, you know. An organized group.
Can I return to Ashburn? Ashburn, less than 48 hours after this incident, ISIS, the most terrible terrorist organization in the world at the moment that the West is fighting, said Khalid Masood was a soldier of the organization. That was a terrorist organization saying he was a soldier for them. What more do we want?
Let's face it, let's be realistic about this. Any organization will say that, and ISIS will be the first person to say that, even though they're lying or not. We've got no proof, no evidence of that. And to catch the front line, they will say that to bring terror around the world, because we know the organization. Again, I cannot sort of go deeper into ISIS. I don't know the history of ISIS. I could only sort of know what I know. But coming back to the question, any radicalization sort of movement will say we were responsible for it, even though they didn't do it or not. So I think they're just using that to capitalize on fear around the world, and that's my belief. But I don't know unless the investigation is actually taking place by the police, and the police actually come and confirm after this investigation this was the case. Then until then, I cannot accept that. That's just hearsay. And, you know, for my friend over there to come out so positively to say that he's a terrorist, you know, he knows, and the police haven't done the full investigation. You know, I put a big question mark on that. And you've got to be careful, because we've got enough issues right now. We in the BME communities don't want it. We would like a united front.
Stop it. You want to quickly...
I would with all due respect to all my panelists, I think we need to wake up and smell the coffee. We have more than 100 ethnic minority kids, or more than 200 ethnic minority kids, statistically, that are already in Syria, either as brides to terrorists, giving birth in Syria and fighting in Syria. 2, we've got Michael Adebowale, who at the end of the day was shot, he wasn't killed, and we know that he joined. We have Dare, the little boy, taken to become the calendar for the advert for ISIS. We need to recognize that there is an issue in our community. The issue in our community is that some of our youth, whether converted from Christianity to Islam, or they were born here and they didn't know much about their religion and just take up their religion and become radicalized. We're not doing enough within the community to say, okay, if we see this trigger. I used to work in the Office for Security and Counterterrorism, and my job there for a year plus was mainly dealing with radicalization, paying organizations to help to stop these kids that are being radicalized. So when I speak from a point of authority on this matter. I accept, and I used to be a special constable too, I accept that the investigation might not have finished, but the indicators are very, very clear that this individual is following a pattern that everybody follows. Now, this is the same individual that went into an hotel to rent a room, and spoke fluently without having any mental disturbance with the individuals. This was the same individual that went into a car hire place to hire a car and did not have any problem there stabbing anybody. This was the same individual that, after mowing down a French little child, a girl walked up to help that child, and he says, move away, move away, move away, and then ran past that lady to go and stab the policeman. We have a problem in our community, and what we should be doing now is to admit that we have a problem and look at how to address those problems. As a former police officer, I know you know some of the things that you could do within the community, what we should be doing. Instead of doing all these parties that we do and all these things, we should bring the community leaders together to say, you know what, these are the triggers that you need to look for in radicalization. These are the triggers you need to look for if your kids are coming in with 200 pounds trainers, and you're not asking them where they're getting there. All of a sudden, at 11 p.m., when your child is meant to be indoors, is getting shot on the street of Ilford and things, and you're not asking questions to say, what is my child doing with a 6,000 pounds car when he doesn't even have a job? If we don't come, sit down and have this reality check within our community, this will continue. And I accept that we must not jump to conclusion. I'm not accepting that. But the pattern is very clear, and we as community leaders need to come together and help our children, because we're creating a situation. If I might say, the last thing I want to say is that our community is not strong enough. We've got, individually, we've got a lot of money, individually, but collectively we don't. And some of these children that are having this low-level crime only just need a bit of mentoring, a bit of support. If, for example, as a former mayor, mayor of Enfield, your office has a bit of opportunity to take some youths who have a bit of little crime that won't allow them to get a job, and you take them on board 2 or 3 and mentor them, take them into 1 or 2 meetings so that they could see things from a different perspective and maybe able to get a job within the community, maybe work in Ben TV or things like that. Because in the mainstream, they will not take them because they got criminal record. You know it, that if you have a little bit of criminal record, nobody will look at you, not even to talk of the fact that your name is even strange. So if we could help them within our community, give them a job, give them a purpose, then they won't get into this crime life that they're getting into. And this is the problem we have. I accept that we must not jump to conclusion. I accept that we must try to help our community to try and ensure that our community is not seen a bad way. But when something is coffee, we should call it coffee.
I'm coming to you. I mean, would you agree? Would you agree that our community, the ethnic minority community, is having a problem, and we're not doing enough as a community to deal with this problem?
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. I agree for what you said. The last statement you came up with, I 100% support what you said. But when it come about the part where you said we radicalize our children to sort of to go into Islams or whatever, there's a question mark, and I've got to be careful how we say that. But coming back to the last point you said, yes, we have got an issue in our community. Our community needs help. We need economic and financial help. And this is what we are not getting from basic. Our children, and as you rightly said, has got one criminal record. This is it. Their life is over. This needs to be addressed. There's better ways than that. I sit on the external scrutiny panel for Redbridge, and we had the same sort of conversation with the chief of police. And I said we need to address our children when they come out of prison. If they have a criminal record, there's better ways of doing that. I think we should have a 5-year span to say, okay, from 5 years, we will take what we will do. This individual will take away your police record from the 5 years to give you a chance to move on in life. What we'll do, we'll go on a 5-year sort of, it's like a downgrading sort of plan. So in the first 5 years, we're going to take it out. That's between you and I, the police and I, not your employer, just you and I. And what we do every year, if you stay in employment for 1 year, if you have a criminal record for 5 years, we'll drop it 1 year. So if you stay in full employment, stay out of trouble, we reduce this down to 2 years, and we have a down scale. And eventually, if you maintain that level in employment, stay out of trouble, we will erase your criminal record completely. In that way, our children got something to work for, they've got something to look forward to, and they'll find they will answer your question that they've got future in front of them. But when I was doing my campaign, when I was running for Ilford South as parliamentary candidate, knocking on doors and talking to people, the majority of youngsters, and that's the reason why I decided to venture down that road. And I didn't realize that because I live in a different category of life totally. I was literally oblivion to what was happening. As far as I'm concerned, everybody's living, having a great life. But when I was knocking on doors, talking to young children, and they're telling me, some chaps are saying, young kids at the age of 18, 20 has never worked for 4 years because they've got a criminal record. I'm going, you're kidding. They're going, no, I've never worked. And as I'm going and knocking on doors and talking to youngsters, they say, I'll never vote. Why wouldn't you vote? Because I've got a criminal record and nobody wants to know. So I've decided to step up the plate and look into this. And I've been campaigning for this for years. I've been taking on the police. They may not like me. I tell you as it is. Our black children, not only our black children, but ethnic minority children as well, Indians, etc., they all have the same issues. But it's predominantly in our BM, in our black and African. Let's make this crystal clear so we understand it. It's predominantly in the African and Caribbean community. We face the brunt of it. The Asians got a slight way out because they're in another class of their own. And they're represented. The Indian community is represented. Like it or lump it, they are represented. We, the Caribbean, African and Caribbean, we're not represented. We're not represented in Parliament. We're not represented the local community. We're not represented the police. We're not represented in council, in housing, in education and mental health. We are at the bottom. We need to change that one way.
That there are black Caribbean people from that community in the parliament, not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. How do you mean we are not represented in the parliament?
In parliament, we've got a sort of a limited amount of MPs. Have a look at parliament. How many black MPs can you pick? There's a few. And as an MP, you've got to represent everybody. At the same token, you've got to represent the black community. But if the stress or the strain is on you that you've got to represent everybody, it's difficult. I can understand the position of MPs, but the more black MPs we have support. Mm-hmm. And if we haven't got more MPs, we need to elect more MPs. Labour, Liberal Democrat, and Conservative. We need to put black MPs, black candidates forward for MPs, and in that way we can address that situation. But coming back to grassroots level, let's go back to grassroots level. Let's go back to our community, because our community can do a lot. And because we're not represented in our community, we haven't got enough councillors in certain communities. And too much councillors is labour. We can't just have a labour right. We've got to have a sort of a wide sort of array, sort of different sort of councillors. We've got to have Lib Dem, we've got to have Conservative, and we've got to have Labour. If it's predominantly Labour, which is most of the councils at the minute, we stick to Labour policies. They've got no oppositions. So therefore, within that community, they're sort of strained to do certain things. But if we have Liberal that will say no to it and fight against it, then we'll have a more collective sort of result. But coming back to, we need, sorry, I'll just finish. We need, in our local communities, to represent our black community. And Africans and Caribbean community, because we are the ones that's suffering. In housing, I do that in housing. I sit in housing for 5 years as a board member for Redbridge. I sit in external scrutiny. I sit on the council. I've done lots of things representing our Africans and Caribbean community. We need more of this. And as you rightly said, we need to be more collective. I was just saying to Kate a while ago, we need to have joint community to Labour and Liberal to get together and have a voice. And you as well, to have a voice, work together, and we need to send a strong message. In fact, we have so much power. Sorry, I apologize. We have so much power as individuals. We vote. We vote to put you there. You need to represent us in Parliament. And if we as leaders come together and say, look, our people vote to put you in Parliament, we are asking you for results. And if you don't give us results, we will not vote for you. We need to send a strong message to the politician. If you don't vote for us, you don't represent us, we will not vote for you, you will not get in power. Because we as the BME community holds the balance of power in this community.
Okay, all right, okay, quickly, in 1 minute before I go on this break, let me ask you, you've been there, you've been a politician, you've been a councillor, you've been a mayor, you're still a councillor, you're still active, you still sit on board of so many local groups, sharing and being a member. Are people like you doing enough? As Ashburn did say.
I think, you know, when you look at it, definitely I think everybody is doing enough. But what I'm trying to say is that it's still a little bit difficult to get our people to come into politics. That is the problem. They are not coming into politics, especially women. For some reason, we believe that politics belong to men. And because I don't see enough of the African and Caribbean women in politics. There's not much of them. Hence, I formed a forum called Forum for African, Caribbean, and Asian Women in Politics. And that is just to be able to mentor them and train them and to actually tell them, listen, you've got to be in it to be able to help others.
Absolutely.
If you're outside it, you can't.
Absolutely.
Well, for the past 15 years, I've been a school governor. Why was I a school? What is the essence? The essence is that there are a lot of our Black and African Caribbean community that have been expelled from school, and I want to know why. So being inside there, I was able to know before anybody is actually expelled, it's not just like that. It goes through a lot of steps. And if you're outside, you wouldn't realize. You would have thought, yes, as soon as they done something, that's off you go. But you know, because you are there, you are able to know exactly the system. So likewise, you know, likewise being in politics, if you're not there, you would not know that if the Black and African, Black and Caribbean community, of the Black community have got problem, there's nobody to address it. You know, it's just like saying women come into politics because if you are there, you'll be able to address welfare, things about children and so forth. So we really have to be in there. If you're not in there, and we have to put ourselves in there. If we're not in there, we won't be able to address our issues. Okay,
we're going on a short break now. When we return, I have my guests in the studio and the program continues. Don't go away.
On issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon.